It was 5:30 in the morning when I heard the boards creak outside my front door. I figured it was the wind, maybe a fallen branch rolling off the roof. But then I heard it again. Heavier. Slower. I grabbed the shotgun from behind the kitchen door, heart pounding like a jackhammer, and pulled back the curtain just enough to peek outside. And there he was. A grizzly bear. Not just any bear, a huge, ragged one. He lay slumped across the wooden porch like a sack of wet grain. His fur was matted with mud and dried blood, ribs clearly visible, one massive paw hanging off the step. For a second, I thought he was dead. Then he blinked. I froze. My first instinct was to aim and pull the trigger. I mean, what else do you do when a grizzly shows up on your doorstep? But something about him stopped me. The look in his eyes, it wasn't wild. It wasn't angry. It was exhausted. I backed away from the window and just stood there in the kitchen, shotgun shaking in my hands. My name's Tom Whitaker, 62 years old. I live alone out here in western Montana, about a 30-minute drive from the nearest paved road. My wife passed 5 years ago. Kids grown and gone. The farm keeps me moving, keeps me breathing. But I hadn't seen anything like this. I didn't open the door that morning. Not yet. I made coffee, trying to pretend this wasn't happening. Every few minutes, I checked the window. He didn't move, just laid there, breathing slow and shallow. Around 8, I stepped onto the porch, shotgun still in hand. The bear lifted his head slightly, then dropped it again. That close, I saw the gash on his front leg, swollen and oozing. Old wound. Infected. It must have taken days for him to get here. He was a mountain animal, probably forced down to lower ground by hunger or injury. The spring had been unusually dry. Berries were scarce, streams were low. Animals were desperate. And here he was, collapsed on the front porch of an old man who hadn't spoken to another soul in 4 days. I set down a bucket of water and half a slab of salted pork I had in the smoker. Then I walked backward into the house, never turning my back on him. He didn't eat until nightfall. That evening, I sat in the living room with the lights off, watching through the window. The bear slowly dragged himself forward. He sniffed the pork for a long time, then finally took a bite. His jaws moved slow, like it pained him. He drank the water after, lapping it like a dog. I sat there with tears in my eyes, not from fear, but something deeper. I think it was the first time in years I felt needed. By the next morning, the water was gone, and so was the pork. But the bear hadn't left. He was sitting upright now, head held low, like a tired dog. That's when I did the stupidest, most human thing I could have. I spoke to him. "You lost or just tired, big guy?" He didn't react. Just looked at me. No growl, no shift. That made up my mind. Over the next few days, I kept feeding him. Left old fish, bread, bits of jerky. He never approached me. Always waited until I was gone. I watched from the window like a fool, whispering things to him through the glass. I started to notice the small things. How he shifted his weight from paw to ease the pain. How he blinked slowly whenever I came into view. He wasn't just tolerating me. He was watching me, too. Studying. Learning. There was something deep behind those eyes. Something that said he knew this was his last chance. It was Thursday when Hank from 2 farms over stopped by to borrow the post hole digger. He saw the bear from his truck. "Jesus, Tom, you feedin' that thing? You gone soft. He's hurt," I said. "He ain't bothering nobody. Yet. You better call Fish and Game before someone else does." Hank left angry. I knew he'd talk. Word spreads fast out here. That night, the bear didn't come back. Nor the next. I figured he'd wandered off to die. I walked the edge of my property, searching, calling out like he'd answer. I felt stupid and heartbroken at the same time. Sunday morning, I followed a trail of paw prints through the woods behind my shed. About half a mile in, I found him, cornered near the creek by a younger grizzly, bigger and aggressive. I shouted, waved my arms. Nothing. The younger one lunged. I fired a warning shot into the air. The sound cracked like thunder. Both bears froze. The younger one growled but backed off, disappearing into the trees. My bear. Yes, I was calling him mine by then, collapsed by the water. He was worse off than I thought. Gashes down his back. His breathing was ragged. I didn't have time to think. I ran back to the barn, loaded the old truck with hay and a broken gate to make a kind of crate in the bed, drove back and, somehow, managed to coax him onto it. I swear he understood. Didn't fight. Just limped along. I drove 3 hours to a rehab center for wildlife in Missoula. Told them everything. The ranger there, Carla listened with eyes wide as dinner plates. You did what? You brought him in a truck? Alive? Alone? He needed help. Carla didn't lecture. She just nodded and got to work. They sedated him, cleaned the wounds, started antibiotics. I stayed the night in my truck outside the gate. 2 weeks passed. They said he was improving. Might make it, might not, but they were doing all they could. I visited twice more. Watched through the fence as he paced slowly, bandages on his side, eyes always scanning. That was a month ago. Today, Carla called. He's being released, she said. Figured you'd want to know. I drove out, didn't even pack lunch. Just needed to be there. I stood at the edge of the woods, watching as they opened the trailer gate. He stepped out slow, looked around. Then he turned his head, saw me. For a second, I swore he remembered. He didn't come closer, just stood there. Then, with a slow movement, he dipped his head, like a nod. And then he walked into the trees. I haven't seen him since. But every morning, I leave a bucket of water by the porch, just in case. Sometimes, at night, I think I hear twigs snapping in the distance. Not loud, not close, just enough to make me pause. Maybe it's the wind. Maybe it's a deer. Or maybe, just maybe, he still remembers where he found kindness when the wild world had nothing left for him.